This is FYI on your TV, brought to you by Hometown News. I'm Kathy Botham. I've got Martina Flanagan with me. Welcome to FYI.
Thank you very much, Kathy.
You are a volunteer with ConnectWell.
I am a volunteer with ConnectWell.
We have somebody come in once a month from ConnectWell and tell us what they're doing, because it's such a big resource we have here in our area. But you're a volunteer with them, and you're helping people with their income tax.
I do, yes, that's right. I am trained by Canada Revenue Agency, and I'm not alone. There are approximately 15 of us that do income tax. We have a license that we have to get every year that's called an e-file license. There's a police check that we have to do every 3 years to make sure that we're legitimate, and yes, that's right.
Absolutely. So what is the Community Volunteer Income Tax Program? What is that?
It's a service that's provided all across Canada. So Canada Revenue Agency recognized back in the early 70s that people had trouble doing their income tax. So back at that time, they started to train people that had the ability, the interest to do taxes for other people. So Community Volunteer Income Tax Program basically is a volunteer organization, meaning we don't charge anything to anyone who gets the taxes done. And it's been set up with the training from Canada Revenue Agency for a particular group of people that have modest income and who have simple income tax.
Now, your background is nursing as well, too.
That's right. My background is nursing. I was a nurse for 40 years. And then when I retired, I had always been interested in income tax. Always did my friends, always did my relatives. Loved doing taxes. It's my favorite time of year. And
not many people say that.
Oh, no. I know. It's why it's kind of an interest, and so the other volunteers as well. So the other volunteers are from all walks of life. You know, one of them is a retired accountant. One of them worked at a bank for many years. So there's all different people who just have a strong interest in taxes and who like to help people.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, who is eligible for this program?
I'm glad you asked that, because it's very specific. It's meant for people who have a modest income. And by a modest income, I'm talking about people who may make over a course of a year less than $35,000 for a single person. If it was a couple, then we look at the limit for who we do taxes to $45,000. And if there's children involved, then for each one of those children, there's an additional $2,500. So basically, if your income is modest, it's worth checking out to see if you qualify to do it. The other qualification, and this is probably the most important, is we are meant to do simple income tax. Mm-hmm. So we don't do people who, let's say, they had bankruptcy the previous year, or if they had a business going for themselves so that they had self-employment, if they had death, so a spouse had passed away. Those are the kind that we don't do. We also don't do things like capital gains, capital losses. Mm-hmm. So for something more complicated, we wouldn't do it. But for the ones that are strictly people that get old age pension, Canada pension, maybe they have a little bit of employment, so they have a T4 slip, or most people often have no employment. They have no income. So maybe their spouse is the one that brings in some money. The one that has no income, we're happy to do their taxes. They're simple to do, so that's who we do.
And before we started taping, you said you volunteer doing income tax all year round.
That's right.
But there's benefits to filing on time.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Oh, Kathy, the benefits to filing your taxes on time are so many. I'll maybe name three. One is that if you ever owed money to the government, then there would be no penalty for filing it late. That's one benefit. A second benefit is if you receive something like the GST or Canada Child Benefit or what's called a guaranteed income supplement that a lot of seniors get. If you don't file your taxes on time, then that money gets cut off. And so it's really important to file taxes by the end of April for people who are receiving those benefits. And the last one too is one that's new, and it's called Climate Action Incentive, or this year the government's calling it Carbon Tax Rebate. So it's a little bit of money that comes in every quarterly, so every 3 months. If you don't file your taxes, you won't receive it.
Okay. Now, where would you go to get your services? Because I've seen a few places, Perth
Yes.
Library, On
Yeah,
Track.
that's right.
Yeah.
We, in each of the communities in Lanark County, we've picked a place that's accessible and that most people know about. We also do it over the telephone, and that started back in 2020 when COVID happened, and we realized that it was not really safe to be getting together with strangers for anybody. So what we started doing then was over the telephone phone taxes. So when someone wants their taxes done, they call ConnectWell. ConnectWell takes their name and their phone number and where they live, and they'll tell them where they can get their taxes done, or they can ask them, would you like to have your taxes done by telephone? And that way we can reach people anywhere.
Right.
We've reached people all over Ontario. So yeah, so it's easy for us to call them. So they call to ConnectWell, and would you like the phone number for that?
Yes, absolutely.
It's 613-257-7121, and it's extension 3200. So if you call that number, someone on the other end would tell you exactly where the services in your area is, and they would also give you the option of having telephone tax done. So
okay. And now you said, I believe there's 15 volunteers?
Yes.
15 volunteers. I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around where everybody is all the time.
Yeah.
I've seen there's going to be people at the Rideau Community Health Services,
Yes.
On Track,
Yes.
Perth Library.
Yes.
Do you have an office space, or do you go around to these?
We go to community organizations that are in that area. So, for example, the Perth Library has allowed us a room that we can work in. So, yeah, it is kind of an office setting. So each one of those places, and Lanark as well, the village of Lanark has it. Carleton Place has it. Actually, Carleton Place does it right in their ConnectWell office.
Okay.
So each one of those locations, we go Almont, we go Pakenham. So each one of those locations, there's been a chosen spot that people can come and bring their taxes. Some of them are by appointment only, and some of them are just drop in. But if the person calls ConnectWell, they'll be given which one and when they happen. They're not full-time, they're maybe once a week or once every couple weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do people bring all their information to you? You do it right on the spot?
We do it right on the spot.
Okay, so no coming back?
No coming back unless they've forgotten to bring something.
Okay.
There's no coming back. We do it right that day, and we will electronically file their taxes into the government so that they know that their taxes have gone. And it's a very simple process. The only time we send it in by paper is if for some reason Canada Revenue Agency isn't accepting that particular tax return electronically. And then we will help them to fill out the paper. We fill out the paper, we get them to sign it, and then they mail it in.
So what should people bring with them?
Oh, good point. Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. So if they have any T4 slips, so some people will have a T4A, some people will have a T4AP, that's for Canada pensions. Some people will have a T4A OAS, which is an old age pension. Some people will have what's called a T5007, that's for people that are on ODSP or some kind of assistance. Any of those T slips they should bring. They should also bring their social insurance number. They should also bring, if they paid rent or they paid property tax, bring that along. And for some people, it's helpful if they had medical expenses or they had charitable donations, bring them along. You know, it'll say right on their receipt, you know, used for income tax purposes. If they're not sure whether it's going to do them any good or not, they should bring them along.
So when is the deadline to put your income tax in?
Well, the deadline should be April 30th. So April 30th is when the Canada Revenue Agency expects people to do it. And as I said before, we oftentimes find people don't follow the deadline. It's really important to do it, but we continue to do taxes after that deadline. In fact, because we know that there are some people don't even do their taxes for years.
I've heard that,
yes. So we will help them. We can catch them all up.
You can catch people up,
We can catch them up, absolutely. We can go back 10 years to do their taxes.
Imagine not filing for 10 years, but I guess people...
They do. They just either have
it.
gone through something that has changed their life drastically, and so they haven't done them. But we can bring them up to date. We won't hold the clinics for the whole year, but we absolutely will help them in any way to get their taxes done. Whether it's by telephone or whether we plan to meet them somewhere, we get their taxes done.
Okay, so as a volunteer, if somebody needs help, say in September or October,
yes,
ConnectWell reaches out to you?
ConnectWell reaches out to us. They have someone there that will take the phone call and then pass it on to the volunteer that would be most available.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this, I'm in my 11th year.
Wow.
So I started when ConnectWell came on board. Yeah, and love it entirely.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's really a good thing. And last year we actually did 2,200 returns.
Wow.
So we kind of keep track of how many returns each of the volunteers do, and so 2,200 people in this area had their taxes done.
Well, it's a well-needed service,
yeah,
obviously.
I love doing it, and I think that the people who need it and enjoy having it done for free.
They appreciate it. I'm sure they appreciate it too.
Yes,
so.
they do.
Once again, how do they get hold of you?
They call ConnectWell. Now, it does have a 1-800 number that I don't have off on my memory, but their local phone number is, and they're in Carleton Place, is 613-257-7121. And then if they don't want to have to listen to a menu, they can just use the extension 3200, and they'll get through to the person who's in charge of that.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
And like you say, the office is in Carleton Place, but there's places here in Smith Falls and Perth that we know of.
That's
for sure
right. Yes,
they'll meet with
Carleton
you.
Place, Almont.
By phone, I like that
yes,
too.
Yeah, it's very handy for many people. They're enjoying doing it by phone. Personally, I like seeing the person. I can see whether they understand what I'm talking about. It's really helpful to do it in person if the person has hearing problems, or if they have cell phone problems, then it's much easier to do it in person. But phone is absolutely the fastest way to do it. And some people don't really want to look at the person who's doing their taxes, so much easier.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful that you do this. And
oh.
How many years?
I'm in my 11th year.
11th year doing this. Wow. Good for you.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much more I could tell you about it.
Yeah.
But if someone has questions, for sure, if they're not even sure if they qualify, tell them call, and they can figure it out by talking to the person at ConnectWell whether they qualify or not. So.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you very much, Martina Flanagan. Thank you very much for coming here today. A volunteer with ConnectWell doing income tax for people. That's wonderful service that you do.
You're welcome. Thank you for advertising it for us. I much appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.